After being child-free for years, we decide to adopt, and sister-in-law takes it very personally and throws jabs at us at every family event, claiming that we're doing this to make the easy way into the in-laws' inheritance. But this time around she's in big trouble because her fiance heard everything and is disgusted by her views, so now she wants my help convincing him that it's a part of an inside joke. My husband, 38 male, and I, 37 female, decided to adopt a child recently, and a few days ago, we announced our decision to the family at dinner. We've been together for the past 12 years and married for 7. In the beginning, we had decided to stay child-free, but we changed our minds along the way. We decided to opt for adoption since I'm past 35 and I don't want to have any health complications. We had already made the announcement to my parents. They were very happy about it, and we expected the same kind of reaction from his family as well. And for the most part, they were happy. At least his parents were. But my sister-in-law, let's call her Denise, 30 female, didn't seem so happy. She and I have a weird relationship. Sometimes she's very nice to me. Other times I don't know what gets into her. But anyway, she didn't seem very enthusiastic about our decision, and later on she made her feelings known. At one point, after dinner and before dessert, her fiancé decided to go out for a smoke, and that's when she started ranting. She was very upset. It showed on her face, and she literally started off by asking us what we were playing at. We were very confused, and then she went on and accused us of trying to get an easy way into my in-laws' inheritance. Even her parents looked scandalized. They tried to get her to stop talking, but she just went on and on. Neither me nor my husband knew what to say because we were really shocked, since we had no idea what she was even talking about. Apparently, for some reason, she believed that we were only adopting a child because we wanted a larger share of the inheritance than what we were entitled to. For context, my in-laws are pretty rich and they have already prepared a will, and we are all aware of the contents as well. They've made special provisions for grandkids, basically, and have put the parents in charge of the trust for grandchildren. So not only was Denise's statement emotionally insensitive, it was also logically incoherent. First of all, my husband and I are not just thinking of adopting a child because we want to increase our inheritance payout. It hadn't even occurred to us. We are not that desperate. Secondly, even if we were trying to do that, it wouldn't even make sense because adoption is a really lengthy process and we have barely scratched the surface yet. It could be months or even years, unfortunately, before we are finally able to adopt a child, and even then we would only be in charge of the trust fund, so the money wouldn't technically be ours. It would be for the child and they would gain access to it as soon as they turn 18. And taking any money from it before that would be as good as financial fraud, and I don't know about her, but I'm pretty sure that my husband and I are not people like that. Lastly, and most importantly, my in-laws are in perfect shape right now. They are in their mid-60s and are as healthy as can be, so I think the risk of them dropping dead all of a sudden is very low. Besides, even if that does happen, which I really hope it doesn't, the contents of the will are still going to stand true. And as soon as she has a child, there will also be a trust fund for him. I couldn't make sense of why she was so upset anyway, but I recently found out that she didn't think that it would apply, which is why she was so confused. Anyway, while she was talking, we had nothing to say to her in the beginning because we were so shocked, but then we started hitting back as well. We tried to keep things quiet and dignified, but I guess our emotions got the better of us and we got a bit loud. We didn't even realize when her fiancé had come to the room, and neither did she, and my in-laws kept trying to get us to keep quiet, but her fiancé heard everything. Once we realized that he was in the room, we decided to stop the argument because we did not want to look bad in front of him, since he is still a new addition to the family. After that, things got really awkward, so everyone decided to leave without dessert, and then we didn't hear from anyone for the next couple of days until yesterday, 3 days after the dinner. Denise called me up and told me that she had unfortunately gotten into a huge fight with her fiancé because he had overheard everything and had pretty much forced her to explain to him what exactly the fight was about. And she had told him everything eventually because he kept bugging her about it, believing that he would be on her side here, but he was just disgusted, and now they are in a fight because he thinks that whatever she said was really wrong. And now she wants me to convince him that it was all part of an inside joke and whatever he heard was just a joke and nothing else. Even if I did tell him that, I highly doubt that he would believe it, because from the way that we were talking to each other it was clear that we were not joking around. And I don't think he's dumb enough to buy that either, so I said that to her. But she said that she would handle it, and all I needed to say was that it was just a joke. I thought about it for a couple of minutes, and then I told her that I was not going to do any such thing because she had been very disrespectful towards me and my husband, and I didn't need to help her, so I wasn't going to do that. Then I hung up and I blocked her and my husband, and I thought that what we did was all right. But my in-laws disagreed because later on they called us up and told us that Denise's fiancé is actually considering leaving her right now because the fight has gotten that bad, and they really want us to step in and try to sort things out now. But I don't think that we should do it, even at the cost of their relationship. So AITA for refusing to say that my sister-in-law and I were joking about an argument so she can save her relationship with her fiancé? Edit. Okay. So Denise and her fiancé have been together for the past 2 years. He's a nice guy and we get along well with him. And as for my in-laws and Denise, they definitely don't treat her any differently from my husband. There is no golden child or favorite in this situation. It's just that at the end of the day they are still concerned parents. So naturally they would want the best for their daughter, and they would probably not want her engagement to end in a breakup, which is why they're doing their best to try and save it, and they think that if we get involved we might be able to do something about it. My in-laws and I get along very well, which is why I have had second thoughts about my decision because I don't want to ruin that. Anyway, that's where the confusion is all coming from. Some quick help and advice would be greatly appreciated. Update 1. Hey, thanks, everyone, to the people who commented. So it's been 2 days since I spoke to my in-laws and they have been trying to get in touch with me ever since, but I had been ignoring them mostly because I didn't know what to tell them. I knew that they would be very unhappy if I said that I didn't want to get involved, so I was just avoiding them and hoped that this would blow past soon. They didn't want my husband involved because Denise had told them that only I could solve the situation because I was doing most of the arguing when her fiancé saw us. And she believed that it would be better for him to hear it from me, that it was all a joke rather than her brother. So they were bugging me about it. I was avoiding them because I didn't know what to say, but today I decided to finally reply to them. When they called me up, I answered and told them that I was not willing to get involved in something like this, especially given the fact that she had been very disrespectful towards me and quite insensitive with her remarks. I don't want to help such a person, especially when she hasn't even apologized to me genuinely. And in all honesty, I didn't even think that I would be able to help because her fiancé would definitely not believe that this was part of an inside joke. Nobody would joke about something like this, especially not in that tone. My in-laws heard me out and then they told me that they were really sorry on their daughter's behalf, but they just wanted me to help them out this one time. They told me that they really didn't want the two of them to break up and it seemed like the relationship had come to a point where they might. I could hear that they were really desperate and my mother-in-law was about to cry and I really didn't want that. So I told him that I was not going to lie to him, but I was definitely going to try and talk to him and get to the bottom of the problem because it was very unrealistic that they were about to break up over something like this. They have already been together for 2 whole years. I couldn't understand why they couldn't talk this out. So I got them to calm down. I convinced them that I would talk to her fiancé, and while I couldn't lie to him about anything, I will definitely try to at least bring the situation under control. And if I'm being honest, I wasn't just doing this for them. I was doing this for myself as well. Because in the long run, I don't think I would be comfortable with the idea of the two of them breaking up because of me and my husband. It would make all future interactions really awkward. And since Denise is my sister-in-law, it's not like I can just stop seeing her without having to stop seeing the rest of the family as well. So keeping that in mind, I decided to call her fiancé and speak to him about what was actually going on, and I had a gut feeling that the situation had gone deeper than I thought. And there must be something that Denise was not telling us because it seemed very unrealistic that these two people who had been so much in love until recently were suddenly on the verge of breaking up, just because they had a disagreement, something that was said to me and my husband. I mean, we are close and on good terms, but this just seemed a little suspect. Anyway, I called him up and it was a bit weird to bring it up with him, but I told him that I had heard all about his huge fight with Denise, and I really wanted to talk to him about it because I felt like they were rushing through things. I wasn't on good terms with Denise at the moment, so I didn't want to deal with her. But I thought that he could be more reasonable to talk to, so I called him instead. Before I could say anything, he told me that he was aware of the fact that we all probably believed that they were fighting because of whatever had happened at the dinner party, but that was really not the case. And just as I had suspected, there was more to it. And he told me that the fight definitely started with regards to everything that had gone down at the party, and he wanted her to apologize to both of us because it was really embarrassing to be associated with somebody who had behaved like that. But she had refused, and she had turned on him, saying that just like the rest of her family, he was also favoring her brother, and that's where it got worse because he accused her of making everything up in her own head and constantly playing the victim because apparently for many years she had made it out to seem like her parents had always favored her brother, and he was the golden child. But from whatever interaction he had had with all of us, that had definitely not been the case. She had even gone to the extent of saying that her parents treated me more like their own daughter than her, and that was obviously not true. They loved me, but they definitely loved her too, and he accused her of constantly trying to make herself look like the victim just so she could seek sympathy and cover up the fact that she herself was a huge gold digger. He told us that every month she would borrow a lot of money from her parents, even though she was perfectly capable of supporting herself. She would make some excuses and get them to lend her money. And in the beginning he had questioned her about it, and she had told him that she was just putting aside some savings for herself because she knew that when the time came, her share in the inheritance would be a lot less than her brother. So, she was just looking out for herself, and that's when she cooked up that whole story of being the favorite child, just so she could justify whatever she was doing. But now he had finally started to see through it and had decided to call her out on it, and that's why they were fighting. She, like a fool, believed that they were fighting about something else altogether and actually thought that they were only fighting about whatever had happened at dinner the other day. So that was the only thing that she was trying to solve without looking at things at a deeper level. After hearing him out, I was shocked, and I had nothing else to say. So I just apologized to him for bothering him and told him that I needed some time to think about whatever he had just told me, and then we disconnected the call. Since then, I've only told my husband, but we don't know how to break the news to my in-laws. When I told my husband about it, he was obviously really mad about it. He wanted to call Denise up immediately and confront her about whatever she had been telling her fiancé. But I told him not to bother because no good was going to come out of it. We had to worry about how we were going to break the news to his parents instead, because naturally they were probably not going to be mad, but they were also going to be really devastated because they had really done their best to raise both their children. And now, finding out that this is what Denise had been up to all along, I can't even imagine what they might feel. And the fact that they were the ones who told me to call him to try and sort things out between the two of them because they did not want their daughter to feel miserable, it just makes everything a lot worse. It just goes on to show that they care about her so much, and she had been lying about them all along, making them out to be some sort of villain in her life. I can't even imagine being so ungrateful towards my parents, especially when they have done everything in their power to give me a good life. And I know that her parents have done that for both their kids. I can't even imagine why she would feel the need to lie about things like this. It's just really disappointing. And I haven't had the heart to speak to my in-laws about it yet because honestly, I don't even know how I'm going to tell them. I've been discussing it with my husband and we think that we are going to tell them together because I was the one to find out. But I think it would be more appropriate with him because, after all, he is their son. I don't deny the fact that they have never treated me anything less than their own daughter, but I still think it would be better coming from him. Anyway, that's for later. Right now, we are just trying to process everything ourselves because this is a huge deal, and I think that typing it all out here has given me a sense of clarity, so I'm glad that I did. It's pretty late in the evening right now, so we're not going to tell them today. But tomorrow we are definitely going to inform my in-laws about everything that we found out and let them decide what they want to do about it. I honestly hope that tomorrow things go well and don't get too dramatic, although I don't think that we can prevent that from happening. Anyway, I'm just mentally preparing myself for whatever is about to come because I'm pretty sure that this is going to stir up huge trouble in the family. Update 2. So earlier today, we decided to tell our in-laws whatever we had found out and just rip off the band-aid, like we had planned. My husband and I called them up and put them on speakerphone so both of us could talk to them. Before they could ask us anything about whatever had happened the previous day, I just launched into my story and explained everything that I had been told, and after I finished they were just stunned. They couldn't even bring themselves to speak for the next couple of seconds, and when they finally did manage to speak up, my mother-in-law just started sobbing. We had expected that. So we started trying to console her over the phone. But she was inconsolable, and understandably so, because I think if I had been in a position like that when my own daughter was saying such horrible things about me and my husband, I don't even know how I would react. My father-in-law was a little more restrained, but I could tell that even he was really devastated. He thanked me for honoring what they had asked of us and at least trying to fix the problem. And they also thanked me for talking to Denise's fiancé, getting to the root of the problem and telling them all about this. Then my husband started talking to them and told them that the right thing to do at this point would be to just disown her and cut her off everywhere because what she had done was beyond disgusting. Her parents had always made sure that both their kids were treated equally and got everything that they asked for. And even well into adulthood until recently they had been sending her money every month whenever she asked for it. It was a thankless job, but they did it anyway. They were always looking out for her, and she in turn decided to lie about them just to save face. He was furious and he went on a rant about how disgusting it was that she was doing all of this just for money, even though she was a working woman herself. And after hearing him out, his parents told him that they could understand that he was very upset. But before they took any steps, they would like to talk to her first and get to the bottom of why she had done any of this. My husband got very upset and tried to fight them on that. But they told him that if he had been in her position they would have given him the same opportunity as well to at least explain himself, so that got him to stay quiet, and I think that they made the right choice. Because I think if they give her a chance to explain, at least she won't be able to get away with whatever she has done and will have to face the consequences of everything she has said. Anyway, after we were done talking, they hung up when we went on with our day. And then about a couple of hours ago, in the evening, his parents called us up and asked us if we were at home and would be willing to receive them for dinner. We didn't have any plans, so we agreed. And they came over, and it was clear that they were here to discuss whatever had happened with Denise. So apparently, after the phone call with us, they decided to go to her place. And when they went over, They realized that she was there by herself and her fiancé had already left. When they asked her about it, she told him that he had told her that he needed a break and had moved in with a friend for a couple of days. She seemed miserable, but they needed to talk, so they went ahead with whatever they had decided to talk to her about anyway. They confronted her about everything that we had told them and asked her if it was all true, and instead of denying it, she started yelling at them and said that she had a lot more on her mind right now, and that it was cruel and heartless of them to be bringing things up with her at the moment instead of consoling her. She started screaming at them, accusing them of always taking mine and my husband's side over her, even though this had literally never happened before. She was just being totally bratty, and that was enough to tell her parents that whatever we had told them was all true. So they told her that they were sorry for bothering her and they would never do that again, and they were about to leave when she started singing a very different tune. She started crying, telling them not to go away and that she was really lonely and that he needed somebody to be there for her at this difficult time because she was not even sure if he was going to come back or not. But her parents told her that they had had enough. They knew the lies that she had been telling her fiancé about them, and they knew that she had been taking money from them and wasn't even grateful about it. Even though they knew that she didn't have any monthly emergencies, they still continued to send her money just because she asked for it and pretended not to know that she was making up excuses just to take money from them. They believed that she must have had her own reasons, and just to save face she was coming up with reasons, and out of love for her they ignored all of that. But clearly it was not even worth it because she still did not seem very grateful for them and had lied about them to a disgusting extent, and they wanted nothing to do with her anymore because she was clearly just interested in money and nothing else. So they were leaving and she started crying harder, begging them to stay and let her explain. They hung around for a couple of seconds and she just started blabbering, saying that she was really sorry about everything, but she was just afraid that she might not get a huge part in the inheritance and it might go to her brother and me for the most part. It was really bizarre for her, and even her parents couldn't make sense of why she was afraid of that happening because everyone knew the contents of the will. And when they asked her, she didn't have an answer. She just said that it was an irrational fear that she had. And they told her that maybe she was realizing it now, that it was an irrational fear, but it was too late because she had already ruined a bunch of relationships because of that stupid little fear that she had. And now there was nothing making her different from a gold digger. She started crying even louder trying to get them to stay, but they just walked out and came back home and tried to process everything that had just happened, blocked her everywhere, and then they called us up and came over so they could talk to us about it. My husband and I told them that it couldn't have been easy for them, but they did what was necessary and they were not going to regret it. Now whatever happens, it's going to be her problem and they don't need to beat themselves up about it. After that, we did not talk about her anymore. We started talking about the adoption process and how it was going and tried to keep ourselves distracted. We had a nice quiet peaceful dinner, and after that, they left and my husband and I had a discussion about whatever they had told us. And we both thought that she was just trying to come up with excuses to justify her behavior. But neither of us believes that she had any actual fears about the money. She just wanted it plain and simple and she was not ready to admit that, which is why she came up with that whole irrational fear thing. But anyway, it doesn't matter anymore. She has already ruined everything good that she had and it is nobody else's fault but her own. So well, I can't say I feel bad for her, but I really do hope that she gets her act together and does something about whatever she has been up to, because it's just really sad. Anyway, I'm just glad that this is blowing over now and we don't have anything to do with it anymore. Update 3. Hey, so it's been a week since my last update and recently Denise and her fiancé broke up and they posted about it last night, but they turned off the comments on that post. I have blocked Denise everywhere anyway, so she can't contact me, but she did somehow email her brother and told him that she was never going to forgive either of us for ruining her life. Apparently, she still believes that the fight that took place at dinner that night is what led to all of this, and maybe it did, but it was just the first block that made all the other dominoes fall and it was she who put that into motion, so I don't know what she's complaining about, but it's fine. I don't really care much for her forgiveness anyway. I'm on good terms with everyone and I really don't care if somebody like her is never going to forgive me or whatever. She ruined everything for herself and I know that it's about time that she accepts it as well. So she can at least try to fix things. But anyway, enough about her. The adoption process is going smoothly and we are in talks of fostering a child in the next few weeks. He's 5 years old, which is the perfect age in our opinion, and we are going to meet him in a couple of days. I'm really excited. I can already feel my maternal instincts kicking in and now I just want to stay away from all sorts of drama so I can focus all my energy on this instead. My parents and his parents are also very excited to be grandparents, even though it's a little early for that and we don't even know how it's all going to go. But we are all really hyped up for this now. I just hope that everything goes well beyond this point.